why is this so important? Because CERN is about to start up the Hadron Collider, ladies and gentlemen, on April 8th, on the day of the biggest solar eclipse in American history, where millions of people are flying from around the world. They are going to collide these hadron atoms, these protons, these electrons are going to be collided on this day. Now, why in the world would they choose April 8th to do this? I have no idea. But this company is creepy on every level, and I'll tell you why. Not only is CERN in CERN, Switzerland, but I want to show you this because this is cause for, in my opinion, a cause for alarm, and here's why. If you take a look at where it's actually at, okay, a large portion of CERN is located in the territory of St. Genus Poli, probably not pronouncing that right. In Roman times, it was called Apollicum. The town and the temple were dedicated to Apollyon, the destroyer. So this is ancient Horus. This is Shiva. The town Apollyon literally is dedicated to the god of destruction, the god of chaos, the destroyer. And this entire Hadron Collider is right in the middle of Apollyon. Now, why is that so important? Because if you go to the book of Revelation, this is what we read. It says in chapter 9, verse 1, 2, and 11, to him was given the keys of the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name is Apollyon. Now, you might not find that just a coincidence, but the fact that they've got this Hadron Collider, which some people, even very, very important scientists, are scared out of their mind of what is going to happen. Now, CERN will tell you on their website, we have no intention of doing anything wrong. Who has intention of blowing up the world? Who has intention of accidentally cracking open a time-space continuum and having something on the other side? Well, I believe they're not telling the full truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So take a look at this quote straight from the director of research at CERN concerning the exact purpose of this Hadron Collider. Listen to this. Quote, something may come through dimensional doors at LHC, the Large Hadron Collider. And out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of CERN, they tell you it's all for scientific research. No, they're looking for the God particle. They want to know what's holding the universe together, and ultimately they're trying to get into time travel. They want to open up the curtain of what is behind our dimension and get into the multiverse. This is what they're after. They believe there are multiple universes happening and in parallel to one another simultaneously, and they want to tear that open. And they know that something has the potential of coming through it. Now, we just read out of the book of Revelation that the Apollyon comes out, that the doors of the deep the gates are opened up, and crazy things come out of the deep. Could it possibly be, would it be that much of a stretch to say that maybe we're the ones that do it? Maybe in our effort in mankind to find a wormhole, to get into Star Trek world, to discover more and more and more and more, like the Tower of Babel, that eventually maybe we actually do open up the space-time continuum. We open up the doors of the second dimension, and the demonic realm comes alive onto this earth. It's very possible. They just said that's exactly what they know is possible. So for what's really fascinating is evolution is dead. The scientists at the highest level now know there is a spiritual realm. There is another dimension beyond ours, and they're trying to tap into it. And my friends, the last time this happened was the Tower of Babel, and it didn't go over too well for them.
So what they're doing at CERN is they're colliding particles at such a high speed in a giant ring, underground ring, and that ring is basically like 27 kilometers, right? And they're trying to discover a new particle, which they're calling it God particle.
I grew up next to a cult, and I'm about to show you the pamphlets and cassette tapes that they distributed to their members. This cult is a modern cult in America that still exists in several states. It's called the Living Word, and it was created by John Robert Stevens in 1951 in California. I'm from a tiny mountain town in Colorado called Palmer Lake. And when I say I grew up next to them, they were literally across the road from me. As I tell you this story, I am going to show you the pamphlets and cassette tapes, only 1% of them because, as you can see, I have boxes filled. So they were being quarantined on their property for sexual abuse allegations. Surprise, surprise. And my friends and I decided to go look around in the abandoned buildings out there. And I did not think that what we found would be straight out of a movie. First, let's talk about the cassette tapes. Ba-bam! Do you see that? It says pastor approval only stamped on it. Do you want to know what it sounds like? That cassette tape has a recording of the leaders of this cult talking about John Robert Stevens' end. The end of the leader of the cult. They don't go into specifics of what that means, but I think we can guess. He died shortly after that cassette tape. Now after that, we explored the pamphlets. Here's an example of one. It says, "But I'm only 8 years old." They mailed these to their members across the nation. Oh, and here's another one. If you look in the top left corner of this photo, you'll see the date at which this pamphlet was sent out, which, if I'm reading correctly, that says 1978. Let's look at a few more, shall we? Spiritual cannibalism. Sounds fun, right? I don't want to know what this one's about. And as if you couldn't get culty enough, they might as well just stamp it on the front of this one. Can you drink the cup? Now this one terrifies me a little bit because it's slightly apocalyptic. Total discipleship will dominate the world. Sounds like they were hatching a plan. Now this next one I think is really interesting to talk about. The channel of the higher flow. So what they called leadership in this cult was the flow. And if you were part of the higher flow, you were part of the higher leadership. I'm ready to read these pamphlets because I definitely think that there is abuse going on in this cult and it should be outed. So let me know if you want to hear these pamphlets. This cult is still alive and well, and people have come forward. Ex-members of this cult have come forward with little to no avail. There's a mini documentary online, but not much else.
So there was another cult called Heaven's Gate cult. So basically what they believed was they were meant to ascend to a higher dimension, which they called the next level. They rented an apartment in California, and there were like 39 members of the cult. And basically the 39 members committed mass unalivement, right? And they believed once their souls left their body, someone was gonna come in the spaceship and take them into another dimension. Strange.
Government conspiracies that actually turned out to be true. Warning, some of these will make you doubt your government. The first theory that was proven to be true is that the CIA created a heart attack gun. The theory states that the CIA built a secret weapon in the 60s and 70s that could cause a fatal heart attack. The weapon shot a small dart that left nothing behind except for a small red dot on the skin. The target would only feel a small prick, kind of like a bug bite, but would be poisoned. Poison would also not be detected in an autopsy. The next one is actually crazy. In fact, my mom couldn't even believe this one. Another theory proven to be accurate includes the government poisoning alcohol. When the government banned alcohol in 1920, bootleggers would steal industrial alcohol used in paints, fuels, and solvents, and medical supplies and re-distill it for sale. In an attempt to stop people from drinking alcohol, the government changed the formulas of industrial alcohol to make it completely undrinkable. More than 10,000 individuals died because of this.
Like the dart gun, that's true. They've been using it for quite a while. But there is one more interesting thing. There is a small capsules which the spies use, and they use it in case that they are captured by their enemies, right? So they have to use it that in case that they get interrogated and they don't have to reveal national secrets, right? So for that thing, they have to sacrifice their life.
This man came from another dimension. In July of 1954, a businessman arrived at the Tokyo airport in Japan. Everything seemed normal as he was going through customs. However, the customs officer noticed that his passport was issued from a place called Torrid, which simply did not exist. Upon further questioning, the authorities pulled up a map and asked the man to locate his country. Seemingly puzzled, he pointed to the Principality of Andorra, but claimed he had never heard of Andorra. Furthermore, the company he claimed to be representing, as well as the hotel he claimed to have a reservation for, had no knowledge of his arrival, despite the extensive documentation that the businessman had on hand. Feeling very confused, custom officials placed him under supervision at a local hotel for the night. However, the next morning the mystery man from Taring disappeared, along with all of his documents that were under lock and key at the airport.
So was he a time traveler?
It's another rainy day in the South. Go out and be someone's sunshine today.
This woman is a prime example of how easily you can deceive people on your social media. This is Farron Jill Hudson, 35 years old, from Alabama. And the story starts in 2021 when her husband was arrested on 5 counts of possessing obscene material with a child under the age of 17. Later that year, he was rearrested for 76 counts of possession of child porn. Now, at the time, he claimed that police had planted these images on his phone, these videos, and there was an investigation undertaken. But when police investigated James's phone, they found evidence that linked his wife, Jill, to these crimes. Yes, Jill, the happy-go-lucky TikToker talking about God and sunshine. So after this new evidence came to light, new charges were added and Jill was arrested. And these new charges included incest, essay of a child, and production of obscene materials with a child under the age of 17. So during her interrogation, after she was arrested, Jill was shown a still image from one of these child porn videos that she allegedly helped to produce. And she confirmed to detectives and investigators that indeed it was her and another child in that video. Apparently, Jill confirmed that it was her in the video performing an obscene act with a child. But after she was arrested, Jill was stupid enough to call a family member, and on the phone call from jail, she asked her family member to go check her devices and destroy evidence. So obviously authorities were listening into that phone call. They were able to get search warrants for all of her other electronics, and they're undergoing a search of her property right now. It's just wild. You wouldn't imagine that that woman who posted that video would be accused of doing such horrific things with children. And it just goes to show that these predators are everywhere, so we have to stay vigilant and keep our children safe. That should be our #1 priority in this nation.
The theory about Drake. So Drake had a song with Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah, it don't matter.
So my theory is Drake bought all of the unreleased Michael Jackson and he's using the melodies for his own tracks.
Oh,
Listen. When was the last time we heard Michael Jackson? On Scorpion.
Yeah.
With Drake, right?
Yeah.
Bro, if you think about it, Drake is known taking inspiration from flows, right?
Yeah.
What's stopping Drake from buying the unreleased Michael Jackson and using those flows for his own tracks?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Because the man has all the money in the world.
He has all the money in the world, right? And for Drake to stay so relevant throughout all these years with classic tracks that stand the width of time.
Yeah.
Who makes like classic music like that stands the width of time? Michael Jackson. So my theory is Drake bought all the unreleased Michael Jackson.
Everything.
Like everything. And he has that in his bank. Like he has that at his disposal.
Like with MJ versus?
Just
the
unreleased.
melody.
Look, if someone else had it, we would have heard it by now.
One else has it.
Nobody
except
else
Drake.
has it.
Drake has one of them, which is...
If Michael Jackson's family still had it, we would have heard something by now. I have a story about my geography teacher.
Okay, yeah.
So she told me that she went to, I don't know exactly what pyramids it was in Mexico, but she went to one of the pyramids in Mexico and she got access to go inside of one.
No.
To like the top. Yeah. And she said she was with like this archaeologist or something, and they showed her a plaque or like an engravement in the stone that showed soldiers of different parts of the world.
Really?
So you have like a Roman soldier with a sword and a metal helmet, have a soldier with like bow and arrow and like a Chinese like horse or whatever, and then you could see like someone with a gun.
Really?
Yeah. So she was telling me this, and it's my geography teacher, right? That coming from my geography teacher, like, come on,
You'll believe it.
I'm taking that like as it is, because she's not gonna lie to me. Feel me? She's not gonna lie to me.
Experience too, like no,
Exactly.
you're not gonna lie.
So she showed me that, right? And they made it specific that you could not take pictures, you could not show anybody. There's a theory that the super soldier serum that Captain America took actually came from the heart-shaped herb from Wakanda.
Yo.
That's why there's similar powers to Black Panther.
Yo, in Infinity War, when they're running and they're like racing at like before the Battle of Wakanda, and then you have like Captain America and
Black Panther.
They're just like racing.
They're
each
like
other.
the same. Yeah,
Almost
they're like the same speed.
Oh.
So yo, it would make sense because Captain America's shield was vibranium.
Vibranium, yeah.
Right? I think it was Tony Stark's father, right? Like Howard Stark.
Howard Stark, yeah.
So maybe he went to Wakanda.
Yeah.
found like the vibranium, but also got the heart-shaped herb.
Yeah, saw some like purple glowing herb and was like, this is sick. They're like,
because they're so similar though.
they're super similar.
Like the same strength, same speed.
Yeah.
They both use vibranium, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You can compare it. And low-key, it kind of lines up to that storyline. You can say it's that narrative if you just look at the detail.